Good afternoon and welcome to the Irish Food Trade Connect conversations. This week, I'm really interested in this story and this product. And I approached and I got this conversation going. So I'm really, really delighted to welcome Dave and Anna from Hytropics. Welcome,
Hi,
Dave and Anna.
Hi, Margaret. How you doing? Thank you for having us.
Delighted to have you both on. And I'm delighted that we have two pilots, two aviators, and I'm absolutely so interested to know why you're gone into the food and drinks industry. Because it's not for the faint-hearted, and I must congratulate you first of all anyway for that.
Thank you.
So tell me, how did you get started, or where did this idea come from?
Yeah, basically, it originated way back when on our kitchen table before the pandemic. We just always experimented with different diets and lifestyle changes just to feel okay at the end of a week, because it's very challenging being in the air at all times. And one of these biohacks, if you want to call them that, was to sprinkle a little bit of salt into our waters to help us absorb the water better.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us about how does salt, and I know this might sound an awful stupid question, and I should know, but I don't, is when you put salt into water, what does it happen when you put it into your body? Is it the absorption of the water or the way it goes through your body? What happens?
Yeah, so basically what happens is, and that's not a stupid question at all, that was a big educational piece for us as well, it's like the water, when you just drink it, it goes right through you. And when you put a little bit of salt into it, it opens up your cells and you get hydrated on a cellular level. And that's where the energy comes into play.
Right. So it actually, without putting any sugar, because I've noticed on the drinks, there's zero sugar in any of your drinks. There's nothing. So it's the salt that opens up the cells that is able to give you energy.
Yes, because you're hydrated more effectively. It hydrates you around 40% better than water, or more effective than.
Right. Okay. So when you were in your own jobs and you found that probably being in the air all the time, I suppose for many of us, or myself that even do a bit of traveling, and we're in the plane for a certain amount of time, but with yourselves it's a different, you're probably hitting down, going back up. It probably is different shift. It's completely different shift to what myself or anybody else in the industry would do. So how did that affect your work at times? And then when you were looking for a product, could you find it? Could you find anything similar to what you're producing at the moment?
Yeah. So it's shift work, as you know, but it's shift work at 36,000 feet. But in the pressurized cabin, your body is effectively at 9,000 feet, sometimes maybe 7,000 feet, depending on how well it's pressurized. But you could stay there for 4 hours. You land, you have an hour off, you come back. It's a lot of time spent at that altitude, and it's quite dehydrating. And if, for example, you've got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do that shift, fly for 12 hours or be on shift for 12 hours, it's hard to keep focused and keep sharp with just caffeine. For example, my own experience was, on a regular basis, I would get quite bad stomach cramps at 4 o'clock in the morning because my stomach just didn't want to wake up at that hour. So my go-to was caffeine, all the times caffeine. And I didn't find it beneficial. After a certain time, it was just dehydrating and it didn't give me any boost or lift. So we started to experiment, like Anna was saying, with the pink Himalayan salt in waters. Then we started to get very high amounts of electrolytes in sachets from an American company. They also use stevia to sweeten it, but it's not something that you could take on a regular basis that was palatable, that you could enjoy. So then that's when we really found the market in Europe, that there's not really much on the market in terms of in a canned form and high amounts of electrolytes like we have, and also as clean of an ingredient deck as we have. So we just wanted to make it as clean as and transparent as possible, so we can stand over what we do, and people can get the benefits from it.
And I also have to say that I struggled for a lot of years with allergies, and I tried various different diets to overcome that. And it's very difficult to find clean food or drinks that don't have like sucralose or aspartame, and that'd be okay for people like me to have, or with celiac disease, or whatever kind of dietary restrictions you may have. And we just had to create our own, I guess.
Yeah. And a big thing about stevia is that people have some sort of aversion to it. Sometimes there could be an overpowering of stevia. It's very hard to get it right, but when you get the balance right, it can work perfectly. So we think we've got the balance right on this one. So we're happy with that.
It's like, for someone now that has a sweet tooth, right, which I do, right, and I know, my go-to would probably be a bottle of Lucozade, right, which is full of sugar, and then you have the likes of what seems to be very trendy, especially now with teenagers. I wouldn't touch it now. Is the different types of Red Bull that are coming out on the market. Yeah. So how do you compete? Like, you're not in the same, but how do you compete for a market against that? Is it because it serves a purpose? Like, what kind of a target market? Because electrolytes are really like, if you're doing a lot of movement or doing a lot of exercise, I wouldn't have, because I'm not in your pharma industry, what you've just told me there, I wouldn't really know it. But to be fair, it makes sense. If you're up at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, I remember when I'd be going on a flight at even 5, and I could have 2 cups of coffee, and I'd feel rotten when I'd come off the plane, because I'd have a headache, actually, is what I'd have. Because, and we're not like, we're supposed to drink this 2 litres of water a day, but sometimes having that bottle of water there is a bit of a killer. If there's not, it's bland. Like, water can be bland and trying to get it into you. But it's where do you see the space for Hytropics? Where are you targeting?
Well, initially, we have a target audience, and we've done our research to figure out the 25 to 44-year-olds would be the initial target. But that certainly wouldn't be the plan. It is definitely health-focused individuals or fitness enthusiasts that would know about electrolytes, because they understand electrolytes. They're used to the flavour, the taste of salt. They don't have a problem with that. So it all makes sense to them. Plus, they can grab and go. They don't have to put a sachet into water, which costs them $4.50. There's a few variants there. So yeah, we want to target that at the start, but then to start spread the awareness and the education on how good electrolytes can be for everybody. So instead of grabbing your Lucozade, hopefully in a few years' time, Margaret, you'll be grabbing our cans. And the Red Bull drinkers, the Celsius drinkers, the Monster drinkers, they will hopefully eventually turn to our drink to get energy, because if that's what they're looking for, then they'll get it from this. It's the trying to get them used to salts, a new flavor profile, rather than this surge of energy. I think people have been looking at energy drinks the wrong way for a long time. It shouldn't be a big high and then a massive low afterwards, and it shouldn't give you any stomach problems or have harmful ingredients in it. So that's what we're trying to do to challenge the big boys.
Yeah, and we also try to take the guesswork out of choosing whatever's good for you, because nobody wants to go through the supermarket and look at ingredients all day long. So hopefully, if we do our educational piece right, people will know that Hytropics has no harmful ingredients, no sugar, and no artificial ingredients, and they can trust us and just grab a drink and off they go,
There's 2 good points made there, because I think we think when we're tired, it's like, you think if you're tired, drink a cup of coffee, have a bit of chocolate. You think the sugar it's ingrained in us, if we have sugar, that we'll be alert. But in hour's time,
yes,
we're down again. And that's my own personal experience of, if I have a long day, and I think like that, there's nothing, especially when you go into, if you're on the road, say, I find, and you go into the service stations, and there's nothing there's actually something you kind of go, God, is there anything clean here to eat?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and or drink. And that's all I've often had, like, and you're going for the coffee machine, or you're going, you know, you might buy the bottle of water. What happens is you'll buy the bottle of water and then it'll be swinging around half full inside the car. That's what happens to me, is that, you know, like, I don't drink the full bottle of water. But if there was something that I was convinced that, you know, this will actually give me a pump of energy till I get home or till I have a proper meal, for sure I would. But I even struggle to find that. Now, when I had Hytropics during the week, I had it in the fridge, and I came in after a run, and like days like this where it's so humid today and it was not shining out, I came in and I was actually really, like, there was a lot of sweating I'd done, and when I actually drank it, I felt like I drank about 3 liters of water, not just a can of Hytropics. I felt really like I drank more than I'd actually did, which was strange. So it
So
has that kind
here.
of serious hydration effect, which I thought was, I was surprised by, because, you know, it's and then you kind of get the nice fruit, especially raspberry. I love the raspberry. Really nice when you have it. Yeah, the raspberry is lovely. You get that hint of it, like, so it's really lovely. So how are how is it going so far? How is the journey going so far for you?
I think it's going really well and better than expected, because this is the first time we're doing this and we didn't know what was going to happen once we released this drink onto the market. And yeah, I'm just completely overwhelmed sometimes, but in a good way, because the customer feedback has been incredibly positive, more so than I would have expected personally. And there've been reorders, and I think we're in about 40 locations at this
Yeah,
stage.
over 40 now, yeah.
Wow, right,
It's only
okay.
been 9 weeks. We certainly can feel that 40 locations. It's
And
well, you know, before launching, we thought we had a handle on things. We thought you know, we were getting the foundations right, all of our background systems, to make sure that we're actually ready to grow. We don't want to grow without being able to. So we're well aware of that, and we're well aware of planning. And from our old jobs, we have a good sense of all that kind of stuff. But obviously, we were not drink manufacturers at that stage. When we launched, we were kind of blown away by the feedback we were getting, and how good it was going in terms of reorders, and the feedback on the taste, which actually prompted us to double our production the next month. So within 6 weeks, really, we went from a certain amount of cans produced to double that. Yeah, now we're working away on that one. We've also revised 2 flavors since the first run, so we figured out that just slightly off balance on one or two of the flavors, just ever so slightly. We got the mango and pineapple completely right, but these are the trials and tribulations of producing at scale. On the second production run, we were able to completely balance everything, refine everything, so that it's a lot more palatable for the general audience rather than specific electrolyte drinkers. So
oh yes, very good, because, you know, if you take electrolytes, you know what to expect. But if and a lot of times as well, if you've been very unwell, you might, you know, take electrolytes to kind
Yes.
of bring yourself back up. So there's a lot of different ways of usage, but I do like that it's in a can and it's already, you don't have to, it's not a sachet and you have to put water into it. So it's the way it's manufactured as well, and then it's, you know, there's quite a nice fruity taste to it. And 40 locations, so 9 weeks, 9 weeks since launch.
Yes.
yes.
We've
Oh
hit the
my,
ground
like, I
running.
mean that.
Hasn't been
So
long.
so have you been, like, that's quite, this is a hectic time, so I imagine, for you both.
Yeah, it's chaotic. It is. We have to manage ourselves. It's the biggest thing, to make sure that we actually take the time, because we could work 24 hours a day easily. And what we want to do now is consolidate go slower, make sure that everybody's looked after properly, and make sure we have all the systems in order for the next stage to grow even further, and to maybe sort of distribution, things like that.
And we want to be in stores as well. We want to meet the customers and get more feedback. We've been doing a lot of in-store tastings and trying to go to as many festivals as we can. And there's still a few more to come this year, but we do want to talk to people and see what they think.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a great time to launch, because you got it kind of at the start of the summer. And I think this summer, more than anything, I've seen an awful lot of festivals and things happening. And so there's nearly a festival in each region across the country. So it's quite a challenge. And I can imagine at the moment that you are like constantly kind of like, are you both sleeping? I suppose is the question I'm going to ask.
I'm sleeping like a baby.
I'm a chronic bad sleeper, so that's nothing new.
Yeah, because it's quite hectic. And how have you found the journey though, from aviation, from being pilots into entrepreneurship, into just serious entrepreneurship, just like that? How, like, what are the main things that you're finding? Is it so different? Is there anything that is similar that helps, or is it completely starting new again? What does it feel like?
Well, in terms of being different, it is and it isn't, because I feel like when things go wrong during the day, because you map out your plan and what you want to do and where you want to go, perhaps, or who you want to talk to, and then things change, things happen, and you just have to chop and change all the time. And I find that that's very similar to aviation. It's okay whilst you're being in the air, but as soon as you land, there's problems with the flight plan, or passengers are sick, or the freight isn't there, or whatever else may happen. There's a thunderstorm over the airfield. It's kind of very similar. So you have to adjust as you go all the time, I would say.
And one thing that's also different is that it's very, once you have such experience in flying, it's all very black and white to a certain degree. Even though there's curveballs that are thrown at you out of nowhere, you get very good at pivoting easily and reacting to something and changing something if it needs to be fixed. But also the fact is that you know what you're doing. It could be a horrendous storm. You fly through the storm, you land, and that's it. You walk away. It's all very systematic. If it doesn't work, you go around, you fly up into the air again, you take another approach, and whatever it is. With this, it's a lot more. There's a lot more grey areas, which is I found difficult to because I like things to be clear and like things to be somewhat systematic. So I'm having to live in chaos and get comfortable with chaos a little bit more than what I would be used to. Also with communication, I think in flying, you're constantly communicating with your colleague or the cabin crew or air traffic controller. So you're always getting feedback about what's happening. You're in the loop. Whereas what we're doing at the moment, we could maybe send 10 emails and possibly on the 10th email we'll get a response. So you don't know what's happening. You're not always in the loop. You don't know whether they want to deal with you, whether you're just trying to figure it out bit by bit. But then eventually they all come around. It just takes persistence.
So and for how long roughly were you both in aviation? For how long?
I was in aviation for about 9 years with 4 different airlines.
Yeah, and I was about 15 years.
Right, so it's like, it's a serious pivot. And when you say, I can imagine it's probably very procedural in aviation, and you have a structure, and when your shift is done, you're done. Here, you're never done.
No.
So, how, like, who kind of came up with the idea first? Did one of you say to the other, no, that's mad, sure, look what we're doing? And, and serious careers, like, yeah, exactly, who's to blame? That's right, that's what I'm trying to be very diplomatic now. But from, you both had serious careers, and I'm not saying this is serious, but this is completely different. Like, and coming away from, very good salaries and, how has that been? Or,
That's the biggest change.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like that's it. That like you're going after something that's really passion, purpose led from, and I suppose like that, when you're earning a certain amount, you're used to a certain standard of living. The way your shifts with like a completely different lifestyle. So how has that been, or was there a driver, or who was the driver, or was it kind of go, okay, just we'll give this a go?
Yeah, we've had a few attempts at business though during
Right.
the pandemic. So in 2019, we were let go from our jobs that we were both in at the time. The airline was pulling out of Dublin, and they gave us redundancy. So we had a bit of a jump start on the pandemic. So when the pandemic came along, we were well versed. We were already 3 months into redundancy. So and we were already trying to figure out a way around it. We were about to take over a healthy nuts and fruit stand business that was in Dublin, and try and make it go over there. So we were always interested in business. We've developed a sleep blanket, we'll say, a weighted blanket that's not so traditional. So we were involved in that for a while. And then also back in 2022, I was actually struggling with the sleep problems have always been an issue for me in aviation. Really difficult to try and get right with the circadian rhythm disruption. So if it's on a constant basis, I end up being completely exhausted. So I left flying for around about 6 months or so to start a sleep company. So business has always been on our mind. And
Always,
yeah, so it was only a matter of time. It's also flying takes you away from everything. You have to sacrifice. It's not just your time. It's all of the occasions. The birthdays you miss, or not being able to plan well in advance. Maybe you have a doctor's appointment. Maybe you have something important. It's very tricky to manage it. So we know that there's another way around life, and we can also do something that has purpose to it and has more meaning to it than getting a load of people down to somewhere on holidays and not being able to go on holidays ourselves. So
Yeah, no, it's a very valid point, and so the entrepreneurial thing is there. It's there. There's a couple of different things going on here, and I can imagine you're involved in a couple of because it sounds like that there's, which gives you you have the flair. The flair is there, and that kind of drive to try something else. Drive to try something.
We can kind of see the vision as well, and I have to say, in my background, I used to be a nurse, so I have this caring background, and I'm into health and wellness and looking after other people as well. I have that ingrained into my DNA basically, and
Wow.
whenever people tell us we can't do something, we're like, hang on, I'm going to prove you different. We can definitely do it, see the vision.
God, there's some amount
in other
of
words,
talent.
people can say no a lot, and then we don't take no for them, so we just keep going.
No, you will have to keep going. You have to keep going. Yeah, you do have to keep it. But it's just
there might be
different.
Some sweet smiles here, but don't underestimate her.
As I was saying to someone else today, we can be underestimated. I was saying to someone else, I don't know who I was talking to about, women in business, and how we can all look like, we're all like very nice and we're polite, and all of a sudden I open my mouth and it's all gone out the window. But it's just what we have to do. But I think this is such a diverse skill set here. There's entrepreneurial, there's kind of into the health and wellness, the nursing is that's a vocation in itself, to be fair. That is, so the career path that you've taken is given to, as you say, taking a plane full of people down on holidays and you can't go yourself, or nursing people, and when do you get a chance to look after yourself? And that's the message I'm getting here, is that it's then you're taking this concept of where you both needed to look after yourselves, created this, and now taking it to the rest of the world, which is commendable. It really is. And I think when you get behind the story and get to know the people behind it, it's unbelievable the identification other people have then with you. And that's what sells, that's what gets your product out there. So it's an unbelievable story. And I think where I spotted it, I think, was on Instagram, because what catches me is your branding. There's kind of on the Hytropics, like, so whoever did your brand, or did you do your branding yourselves? Because it's really creative. I think it's really, it hits the eye. It hits the eye.
It was a collaboration for sure. Our brander was absolutely brilliant. He's really experienced. He knows what he's doing. I think working with entrepreneurs or like ourselves or founders, it's probably very difficult for anyone working with us to figure out exactly what's going on in our heads and what our vision is. I mean, there's so many routes to take to try and figure that out. So it ends up being everybody working together, and that's the way we want to run the business as well. Like, we will get there, but it's going to be a collaborative effort to do it. Not one person is going to be able to make this a success. So we're very interested in collaboration, making sure that we have the right people and right heads looking in at things. So that's why we
because you can get a lot of opinions, and then you make your own consensus as well, because everyone has their own own idea. And I see you've joined Love Irish Food as well, which is a fantastic, so because you are Irish produced, and which is great for our own economy and our creating jobs and our own people, which is fantastic as well. Where are you selling the product at the moment? Where can listeners go out and buy it if they want to grab it?
You can buy it on our website. That's hytropics.com.
Yeah.
And on the website itself, actually, we have a stockist page, which we're trying to update on a bi-daily basis to make sure that it's got the latest information. So we're in about over 40 locations. We're in Central Drumcondra. That's a beautiful shop down there. And we are in Donnybrook Fair in 3 of the locations now, and soon to be spreading out into the rest of the locations too. We're in around about 18 super values in the Dublin area. Then we also have Enfield, Navan and Longford super values. Some spars around the neighbourhood, and some Your Spars in town as well, in the centre of Dublin and Dame Street. I have a list here in front of me, so I don't forget, Margaret. You'll have to excuse me.
That's guys, but
because it's important that people know.
They've all given us a chance.
We
want to make sure we name them.
Yeah, exactly. And Nolan's in Clontarf, we can't forget. Westwood Gyms, we're trying to stay in as well to make sure that the vending machine people will work with us to actually provide the users in the gyms with the best possible drinks for their workout experience. Some health stores as well, Horan's Health in Fermoy and in Tralee, and Down to Earth in town. And then we are in Dash Cafe, we're in the Lean Bean Cafe, where else? Good Habits Coffee Shop, Hive Coffee, and then most recently Pogue, the Pogues chain. They have we're going to go into 3 locations to start, and then maybe make it onto the menu, maybe make it part of what they have as a regular thing. So yeah.
Brilliant.
We're in various different.
You're nationwide, anyway. Yeah, you're nationwide. Yeah, so very, very and continued success with the growth, because I think once you get the concept proven and people are out drinking it, that's how because at the moment you're the ambassadors for it, but then you need the customer becomes the ambassador, and they people are like, social media is, all you need is people to take a picture with a drink and off you go. So it's, so it's, a brand sells itself once it's out there, which is fantastic. I want to really thank you for coming on and taking your time out today to have a chat with me. And I know you're both very busy people. So keep up the good work. And, anyone that's listening or watching here today, we'll have a link at the bottom of the podcast to let you know the guys' website and where to contact them if you want to try the product. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.